Church.
All right, we're going. Thanks for tuning to the special edition, the Renshaw Report. Murray I reported from the city too tough to die, New London. We got a special guest today. Let me tell you all about this kid, Brody Monahan. You've read about him. You've heard about him. We've all heard about him. And I'll tell you what happened with me. I'm looking at the social media day after day, and I see this name Brody Monahan show up time after time. And I'm down to my favorite cousins, Diane McGovero, and Dave McGovero. He's a tremendous cook, by the way.
Very
Clam
good.
chowder out of this beef stew. Oh.
Very good cook.
And I'm talking to Diane, and I asked Diane, who is this kid? Brody, I hear about all the time.
Yeah.
And she started to tell me about you, and she said, why don't you have him on the show? And when I found out you were headed to Florida, I thought maybe it'd be a good opportunity to get you on the show and see what your career, which way it's heading and what's going on. But I want you to clarify something for me right off the bat, Brody, and confirm or deny this. I have pretty good reliable sources. I was told when your mother went in the hospital to have you, you drove the car on the way home. Is there any truth to that? Because racing is obviously in your blood.
I don't know how reliable the sources are, but yeah.
So can you confirm or deny that you started driving that early?
You know, I might have, but I don't think I could remember that far back. You know.
He did drive, but his memory kind of lapsed over the, he didn't start remembering stuff till he was 3 or 4 years old. He's a good driver. Actually, I ask him to drive on the road all the time, but he refuses now because he's such a law-abiding citizen, but he sure can handle the wheel.
So, Reggie, we're getting an echo in here. I don't know if that makes a difference, but Brody, way back when, this goes back a long time, and I know your father will remember this, but I remember when your dad and your uncle Diego were working out of a garage across the street from Schneider Hardware, and they would work Saturdays and Sundays and nights, and nobody ever knew what they were doing there. And I think that's how you got these driver's skills and race cars driving in your blood.
Yeah.
We were on the corner of Blinman and Brewer, and at the time the property was owned by the guys over at the Groton Motor Inn. And I'll tell you, what a great neighborhood it became. The kids came down, got their autographs, and hung out in the garage, and people looked over our place. We had a lot of fun back then. Brody doesn't, have those memories of those kind of places because we just do it out of our own shop at home. But
hey, Drew, are we running this? Are we running this live?
Copy that.
Okay, just wanted to check. So give us a little heads up here, Brody. How old were you when we first started?
It dates back a long time. I'd say probably when we got our first cart, I was probably 4 years old. We were practicing in where's the first place we practiced?
Cohanzy's, across from Cohanzy School in the fire department parking lot.
Yeah.
How'd you make out?
I flipped, I think, right? I hit a curb in the parking lot and I flipped the car.
So you didn't start on a go-kart, you started on a regular car?
No, this was a little go-kart that was made for the circle track.
Oh, okay.
Up at Stafford Speedway, and I thought I'd bring him up to the open parking lot at Cohanzy to try it out. And the way the bumper is nice and low to the ground, when he hit the curb, it just kind of somersaulted his car in the air a little bit.
And how often do you practice?
Really, we can only practice, in the actual car on race days or open test days at the racetracks. So, what was it, last year you got me I think it was last year, or
Yeah.
2 years ago. He got me a full simulation setup for they have a software called iRacing.
Huh.
And you can get all the real tracks with all the real cars and tune all the cars into your liking, and you can practice, and it's actually really accurate because I think they 3D scan every track and every car, so it's as close as you can get to being in the real car without being in it, so you get more practice.
So it's like a simulator
Yeah.
deal?
Yeah, iRacing is a popular game that a lot of even adults play.
There was a movie about that, wasn't there?
I don't. We don't watch a lot of movies. We're busy with the race cars. I don't know, but it's been great for his being smooth behind the wheel. He gives a lot of credit to iRacing, and a lot of people who are successful in racing give credit to iRacing as well.
Now, at that young age you started, and then what was the next progression?
We started in the karts, and we swapped tracks. We went to the SpeedBowl in a what they call ein Bandolero, which is like looks like a car, but it's kind of like low to the ground, and they're not super fast, but it's like good enough to learn smooth on the wheel and stuff, because you can't be like jerking the wheel around and everything. So it's another. Some people say that's kind of just like to fill the gap between a kart and like a full-size car for like age difference, because you can't run a full-size car when you're little. But I think it's necessary too to like learning and developing.
At what point does it become competitive?
Really, every division's competitive, and some divisions that don't even have a lot of cars, they always have their few guys that run the division all the time, and they're like, on top of their game. Like, you go to a certain division, and you got to beat those guys. So I'd say maybe the higher you move up, the stiffer the competition gets too. So.
But you had a lot of good competition even at 5 years old when we ran at Stafford Speedway they had a mini track on the infield. These cars had like wings on them. They kind of looked like quarter midgets, but without springs. Great little competitive cars, and some of the drivers are still trying to figure out where the gas and the brake are, but some of them got the hang of it right away. And throughout all of the racing, Brody's had wins in all the divisions that he's running, but it wasn't right off the rip at a young age. It took a lot of practice to get there.
Yeah, Shawn, I read someplace that you actually went to school to be a mechanical engineer.
Yeah, I did. Not a lot of people know that about. I mean, I always enjoyed the mechanics of, physics and how things actually operate, which help with, chassis handling. And my brother's become really good at it. I've been more lazy with chassis setups, but.
I think that's inherited from Chico Morello.
Yeah, well, Chico was a smart man. I don't know. He sometimes could sell one car to two guys, and somehow they'd both buy him coffee and become good friends at the end of the day, and he'd find him something else. But if he had it, he'd give it to you. And I learned a lot about good business. I remember Uncle Chico told me, no matter who you meet in this world, if you meet somebody that's a movie star, if you meet a professional athlete, you treat them like they just want to be treated like another human being. So treat them with a little bit of respect, and you can go a long ways.
He was a people person.
He was a people person.
So Brody, goals and ambitions. You know where you are now. Where are you headed, and what do you hope to achieve? I think I know, but tell us about it.
Really, the end game is to be in a NASCAR on Sundays, but it takes a lot of time, and you got to get in front of the right crowd, people to try to display your talent. So we got a lot of work to do to get there, and it takes a lot of sponsors too. So right now, that's what we're just working towards.
You got to understand too that this making it in the sport is two ways to make it. To just have an overfunding, an expended amount of money. It takes a lot to get there, or you just happen to know the right people and you catch the right breaks. And I'm not one of the $1 million fathers by any means, but Brody has shown with his character, being an easygoing, polite, young. He's not cocky about it at all. He's reserved and impresses people behind the wheel. I would aggravate people in the race car all the time, and some of the people probably have a hard time or had a hard time getting to like Brody in the very beginning. But we're two different people. I'm aggressive, and boy, he'll give every driver that he's with the benefit of the doubt. He doesn't go out of his way to lean on people and make them aggravated, and he's gotten the give and take, has come down pretty well. So we're in the prayer business, and hoping that the right person catches Brody, because we don't have all the money that we need to make it all the way to the top, but we're expecting the stars to align.
And tell us, Brody, you've had a couple of great seasons, more than two. Shawn, if you would run through that list that you sent me of Brody's accomplishments to date, because it's quite extensive, and you can do better than I can, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Brody, do you remember how many wins you had even starting off on the Friday, on the Monday night kart racing at Stafford? You were knocking those out of the park. We actually moved up the division. I think you got 3 or 4 in that. Do you remember?
Yeah, I think we started one year and we won. We won almost every race that we started in. So we moved up. Our idea was to either move on to the SpeedBowl or move up a division the following year. But I think you got a kart less than halfway through the year, so
Right.
we can move up, because we were just trying to. Well, I'm struggling for words, but we were really good, and we didn't really need to be in that division anymore, so we were moving up.
And that's when we ended up getting the Bandolero car for Waterford. We got the Bandolero car at Waterford. Right out of the gate, you weren't really the fastest car, right? We had to do a little bit of research and
Yeah, I don't think we were. We certainly weren't as dominant as we were when we started.
later on.
Yeah. When we started, we were kind of.
But once I figured out how to play with the gaskets a little bit, and we started running really, really tough with, my brother had his daughter Emma in a Bandolero, and Brody in a Bandolero, so we had the Monahan family all out there on the track at the same time, and we started doing pretty well in the Bandoleros after we probably spent a year or two in the Bandoleros until we got to an age where we can get them into a legend car. Brody, tell Murray a little bit about the Legend division. Try to break that one down for him, because that's something he probably hasn't seen before.
Yeah, the Legend cars. You know what I'm referring to with the Legend cars?
No.
So they're like, I think they're 5/8 scale real car, and they're based off of I think it's a 34 Ford model.
Oh,
coupe or
okay.
whatever.
I've seen that on.
Yeah, so they look like little classic cars. They got fiberglass bodies on them. They have old Ford coupes and old Chevy coupe bodies on them. And you open up the door and it's fully caged. You get inside. They have so much power. They run motorcycle engines, but they have so much power. Do you remember the times or what was like a lap time? You were running the same speeds as
The truck.
same speed as the full-size vehicles in
Yeah.
these 5/8 scale. We started off rough with that. Dad didn't know what he was doing quite well. And we brought it over to our friend Nick Lascola,
Yeah.
and the Palmers helped us out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brody just started lighting them up. So then we get into the question that you asked, the transition of divisions. How many wins did you get in the Legend car in a couple years back?
We got, I think, 9 in the one season. But
Right.
to add in, to date so far, those are the most evil cars to drive, I think. Like they weigh so little, and the wheelbase is so short that they're really twitchy, and it's just, I think if I skipped Legend cars, and most drivers who have driven Legend cars know that it helps a lot, like just to learn how to predict like getting loose and controlling the car, having more control as you move up.
And I'll vouch for, I started racing in the mid-'90s. And when Brody got into the Legend car, I bought a Legend car so we could have father-son time on the racetrack. With all the years' experience I have, and I've won championships, won a lot of races, and people have complimented my car control. I got out on that racetrack, and I was like, wow, they're so twitchy and so on the edge. And this guy's catching me and beating on my bumper I'm in his
How
way.
old was he then, Shawn?
12?
12 first year.
He
yeah.
was competitive with you at 12 years old?
Competitive. I was in his way. I got out of the division and sold the car. I said, I'm just going to concentrate on Brody. I couldn't believe how good he was doing. It just lit me up. And And when my wife told me it's time to concentrate on Brody, the selfishness of all the racing that I've been doing all these years, I wasn't ready to step out of the driver's seat and just be the crew chief for him. But I'll tell you, it's been so rewarding and such a great experience having him be an extension of what I'm doing. No, I still have cars in the garage that, you know, we don't race because I have so much fun just hanging out with Brody. And you're watching guys go around the track, and I watch people my age, I watch my friends' kids, and I think to myself, why did he do that? Why did he miss that opportunity? I don't say that about my son. He catches on the opportunities, and he always seems to be in the right place at the right time and making good calculated moves. So, boy, it's so much fun sitting on the sidelines. Now I just get nervous. I'm more of a nervous wreck as a father before the races start, and he's got no fear. He's ready to go.
And I read that your dad is your spotter,
Yeah.
Brody. How's that working out?
It's good, but there is, due to the circumstances, there is no filter on him. So, you know, if he catches me slipping up on something, or if I'm taking too long according to him on something, then he's not afraid to let me know. You know.
And for those people who don't know a spotter, like inside each car has the radio and the full wiring harness that goes up to his ears, and he has a microphone in his helmet. And then I'm sitting on the sidelines with a headset on, and I'm communicating with him on when he's clear, when he can go high, when he can go low, and I come in with my opinion occasionally.
Did you see that picture?
That was
Did
the
you see
late
that picture?
No.
That was the late model picture.
How old was Brody then?
Oh, that was only right there, Brody. That was
Maybe
6 months ago.
6 months ago. I think he grew.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh yeah, he just spurted up like 3 more inches. I mean,
That's tremendous. I could use a few myself. Brody, what's the story with the white gloves? I'm told that white gloves are your trademark, and that's how many people in the stands know it's you when you drive by.
I don't know. White gloves weren't really a thing for me until last year. To be honest, I saw them in like pictures of people using them, and I wanted them when we were down in North Carolina for a road course event with the Legend cars, and we went to the company that makes them. They're called K1, and we went in their shop, and we saw the white gloves, and I got them, and I used them that weekend, and I don't know. I just kind of.
we just got him another new pair for Christmas. You really can see the finesse on the steering wheel, though. It's kind of like you're proving to the people that are watching how smooth you are, and
these guys, they're all looking for that. These scouts are.
oh yeah, they can just tell. I mean, those guys that are been doing it for a long time, they literally watch the front wheels, how much they're actually turning going into the corner as well. You can tell when somebody's overturning a car and scrubbing speed off, and that adds up to a tenth or two in a lap time. So it's one thing to have a good handling car, but you gotta know how to use it too. So.
Speaking of good handling cars, who fixes these things? Who's the mechanics on these? These things are nothing but work, right?
It was.
He's lucky to have a good father.
Yeah.
You do all the mechanical work, Shawn?
You know, the thing of it is, he hasn't been rough on equipment at all. So there hasn't been a lot of late nights in the shop trying to get the car prepared for the following week. If I get a little overwhelmed, I don't really have a crew. It's Brody and myself. We go out in the garage, we bicker to each other in the garage a little bit. But my brother's been a good backbone for us as well. His shop is a couple miles down the road, and if I have something catastrophic happen, his crew will join in and help out. But we never really had to take advantage of that. So.
There's a number 35 car.
Yeah, that car on the screen. Brody, tell them a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, that was the first time that we went down south and raced with a full-size car, and that was with Lee McCall, and he crew chiefed a few Cup cars too, right?
Oh yeah, Lee McCall, the owner of that 35 car, was crew chief for. He was a car chief for Davey Allison. So those old timer racers know. Davey Allison went down in a helicopter crash many years ago, but he was on top of his game when he passed away. And Lee was his car chief, and Lee crew chief people like Sterling Marlin, and did a couple shows with Bill Elliott. I mean, he's been around the sport a long time. And for us to team up with him last year and run in North Carolina, that was our first experience down south. How'd you make out?
We started off in the race 7th, we qualified 7th. We started the race first, and
They inverted. They picked out of a hat and inverted, gave Brody the pole.
so we started first. We fired off good. Prior to this, I had never shifted on a start in anything besides a legend car. So that was my first ever time shifting, 3rd to 4th or whatever. And we nailed the first start, and I pulled away, and we led the first 44 of the 75 laps until we had an impatient driver behind us that didn't like the 35 car, so he decided that he was going to take me out. So he basically drove underneath the back of my car coming out of the turn and spun me right around. And I think our tires were shot for the rest of the race because we didn't have the speed that we did.
That's a baptismal, they call
Yeah,
it?
I guess so. I mean, he happened to be the track champion of the division, and when you're an out of towner, we were lucky to have the fans that we had in the stands. But when you're an out of towner, you're an outsider. It's tough to get it under wraps. It's going to be tough for us when we go racing this summer down there. People from New England, they have a hard time making it in the sport as far as being welcomed in by the other guys that are from town.
How important is the fan base to your sport?
The fan base is the sport, I think, right? Because, if not only just racing, if you look at any sport, what would football be without anybody watching it? They'd just be doing it for themselves, right? But the racing, when you look at it and how it started, it is a part of the entertainment business, So you have to put on a show on the track, and the fan support to the drivers and the tracks keep the tracks alive, and the racing, can keep going.
What is the age? What are the other ages of the drivers that you're running with?
This year I'm not really sure, but at Waterford and at Tri-County, these guys most of them are not my age at all. They're like probably 30 years old and beyond. So
Yeah, I would say 20s to 50s.
yeah.
But where do you think you get this, Brody? How does a young fellow like you get where you're at right now? And obviously you're moving up in the sport and in your life. At 14 years old, you've got tremendous presence, great spokesman, real gentleman, and nothing but good. Where are you getting this from?
I don't know. Probably my father for driving, and he's a great mentor. But
You get a little bit of that niceness from your mother.
probably, yeah.
A little bit of the niceness from his mother for the personality. And the other thing is, he said that the sport, is entertainment sport. Remember the likes of the SpeedBowl when I was growing up, it was like Johnny Brower. It was colorful, come out with sparklers and put a wild hat on, or he'd paint the tires funny and stuff. But I tell Brody all the time, put a little emphasis on when you get out of the car or something. Be a ham. I think the people enjoy that kind of stuff.
We got a call. We haven't had a call since the last hurricane, so you must be very popular. Hey, Drew, which button do I push here?
Hey, from Daytona Beach, Florida.
Thanks for calling. You're live with Brody Monahan and Shawn Monahan.
Hey, Brody Monahan, Bill Harmon from Daytona Beach, Florida.
Hey, Bill.
All right.
How you doing, my pal?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm at the Speedway here. the 24-hour cars are out there running 190 miles an hour and having a heck of a time. But I had to come in a special room because it's awful noisy out there.
Yeah.
So how you guys doing?
We're doing great, Bill. Looking forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'll be seeing you guys in a couple of weeks. And now you're at Murray. He's the best. You got a good guy with you, Murray, and I know he's very proud of you, as I am. And I was talking about Shawn and Jen, Diego, Emma. You guys got the best racing family in the business, believe me.
Right. Billy, what do
I'm
you
so proud of you.
what do you think about the how prestigious
What's
do you
Murray
think,
doing now?
Hey Bill, how prestigious do you think it is to actually have Brody go down and run New Smyrna? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm having trouble hearing you, Shawn.
Oh, New Smyrna.
New Smyrna, bro, you should love it. It's a beautiful half mile.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Brody coming down and running?
I love it. I love it. It's a fast half mile, but it's a nice racetrack. I ran there years ago, and I loved it.
Yeah, we love you, man.
But I'm here at this. Yeah, I'm here at the Speedway. I'm here at Daytona International right now with 24-hour cars, and but I just wanted to say you guys are the best.
Thanks,
Shawn
Bill.
and Jen and Diego and Emma, you got two champs there.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, my pal.
Boy, you're one of my favorites.
I'll see you when you get.
Yeah, don't forget it. You're one of my favorites, buddy.
Yeah, I know. You without you guys, I wouldn't be into racing anymore because I almost gave up on it.
Well, we love you. God bless you,
I'll
Bill.
see you. I'll see you when you get down here.
Thank you for calling, Bill. I look forward to seeing you.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Bye, Bill.
bud. Thank you.
Bye, Bill. You know, this came in today, Brody. It says, hi, Maury, I hear you're going to have a very special guest on the show tomorrow, Brody Monahan. I won't be able to call in or watch because I'll be at work. But could you give him a personal message while on the show that Rachel and Boo Boo, a.k.a. Rob, are so proud of him and we wish nothing but great success. Love, Rachel. And in addition, Diane and Dave McGovero send their good luck and love and wish you the best of luck.
That's great.
So
That's awesome.
that's tremendous. Great to hear from Billy Heim. By the way, now what speeds are you running when you're in these races?
I don't know. It really depends on the car, but I'd say, what do you think late models are getting at, like Waterford or Thompson?
I mean, it's totally different for Thompson. I mean, Brody ran Thompson, the 5/8 mile. They said to him, maybe we'll let him race. We're not really sure. Send him out in practice, and we'll see how he does. And we were expecting him to go down laps maybe. This was his first time ever in a late model car. And to give you an understanding of it, Thompson is 5/8. Waterford's a third. Super fast track. Well, my wife was a nervous wreck. Never in a late model, never at Thompson Speedway. They're probably, you got to be hitting 110, I'd say, up at Thompson. Probably hitting,
At least.
yeah, 120 maybe. And then,
That track's intimidating too. Well, the first time I went out, maybe not the other times, but the first time when you pull out on the track after watching it and seeing how fast the cars go, and even, watching, just wrecks as like a kid, just being there all the time, it's scary going into the turns. But once you get, kind of comfortable with the track, then it kind of just becomes second nature. But
you know what I've always said is, because somebody listening in might, 100 miles an hour, that's not that bad. I mean, we've gone 100 on the highway many times. The key is stop slowing down so much when you get off the exit. Hit that exit nearing, 100 and just lifting at the last moment. And you get that inertia going into the corner with somebody right on the side of you. That's what makes it awesome racing.
yeah.
Brody, what professional race car driver do you look up to or follow or?
I'm not I'm not really sure. I've never really looked up to anybody as like a, like a NASCAR driver or anything, but mainly just, my dad. Look up to him as a driver because,
Thanks, son.
yeah, I wouldn't be half the driver I was if it was anybody else, I don't think. And, watch my uncle race too, my Uncle Diego. So that's who I look up to. I've never really like committed to watching, NASCAR all the time or every Sunday, but
So you don't watch the races?
the particular races or ones
Short
that-
track, some of the short tracks where they're bumping and banging, like Bristol's.
Yeah, we usually
fun
watch all the short track ones, but kind of like the mile-and-a-half stuff. We don't really tune into that. But
Now, going into New Smyrna, you've never been there before, I take it?
no,
What would you expect when you drive down there?
Every time he races, when I don't expect much, he just lights it up. So I'm going to say humbly, once again, there's 23 other guys that are signed up, most of which have raced there year after year at this special event. I'm hoping Brody can bang off top fives. Maybe, it would be huge if he can win one of the nights. Now, there's 9 nights of racing in New Smyrna, and there's 7 nights that Brody will be racing. So, it's a car he's never sat in before. It's a team called Walker Motorsports out of North Carolina. They're going to tow down to Florida, then we're going to drive down from Connecticut. We're going to meet down there. We're going to sit in this thing, and hopefully Brody fits just right. And Chris Walker tells me this car is going to be fast, so be ready for it. And he's expecting Brody to perform. And I'm telling Chris, I hope this car's fast because we're ready for Brody to perform. So we got a little thing going back and forth where if the car's there, I think we can really turn some heads and accomplish some. This is a dream come true for even him to be able to pull on the racetrack. This is something that I would have dreamed about all these years that I've been a race car driver. And most people from Connecticut don't get an opportunity to do this. So Brody's going to turn 15 while we're down there that week. So he starts off racing at 14. By the time we leave, he'll be 15. But man, we got high hopes.
So do you have a day of practice?
1 day of practice. And what is that, the 8th?
yeah, it's the day before the first night.
Yeah, 1 day of practice, and he's thrown to the wolves.
Now,
We
what
had
do you-
another friend that runs in a modified division down there. I just lettered his car the other day, and he had said to me, just finish the race on the first night. Everybody's trying to prove a point. They go crazy. You could wreck a lot of stuff. So this car that Brody's driving is a pro late model. It's called a pro late model. And new track, never sat in the car. It'll be the fastest car that he's driven to date. So he's got a lot of these up against.
Yeah.
And did you have New Smyrna on iRacing?
Yes, I do.
So he's got some practice already on the computer.
Are we able to watch these races on the internet?
You gotta subscribe to Flow Racing.
Slow?
Flow, F-L-O. Flow Racing is a 1-year subscription, and they cover a lot of racing throughout the year. All of the racing Brody will be doing in North Carolina in the summertime will also be on Flow Racing. So it's worth, do you remember what it costs to subscribe? I think it might only be like $40 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's a lot.
Whatever it is, it's worth it to catch all the nights of racing down there in Florida. And
So 9 days in New Smyrna, and then you're coming home? Or you go?
nine nights of racing they have, but Brody's division's going to run 7 of those 9 nights. Once we're done, we have 1 week. We'll come back. More than a week. 2-3 weeks.
2 weeks. I
2
think.
weeks. March 9th. March 9th, he's on his way to Hickory, North Carolina to run his first late model stock race down there. I think they're twin 40-lap features.
Yeah.
Now, is that with Walker too?
No, this is with a new team. It's called Levitt Marlowe. Did I say it right? It's not Marlowe Levitt, right? It's Levitt Marlowe.
Yeah, it's a little bit more a lot.
Levitt Marlowe. And Steve Levitt is just a genius with these cars. And Greg Marlowe is a phenomenal crew chief. Both out of they currently work at Tricon Garage in North Carolina on the trucks. But they're going to do this season out of Greg Marlowe's shop at home, where they're putting together this car for Brody. And this is a brand new team. And boy, we're excited about it, because if they had already been an established team, I don't think Brody would have had an opportunity to team up with them, because everybody would have been after them. But we kind of helped push start this team into motion. And I think that there are 2 household names down there that Brody's going to be driving for. So out of the gate, we should have some pretty fast cars.
And Shawn, how did you get connected with all these people? I mean, this is an amazing story.
I think the biggest connection that I could give the honor to is 2 of my near and dear friends from Waterford, Connecticut, Derek and Seth Smith. And I guess I always call them kids, because they used to, before they had their license, they would ride their bicycle to critical signs and help me weed and prepare graphics. And they helped my brother and myself on race cars at Waterford SpeedBowl. Their father, they called him Smitty, ran a street stock. And when they graduated high school, they said, "We're going to go to NASCAR college in North Carolina." And I said to them,
Oh, wait a minute. Did your mother used to work at Supreme Pizza?
yes, she did. And I said to them, well, hopefully it's only a few years. When you get done, come on back home and help us out on the cars, you know. Turns out they never came home. And they've become great friends. They've been great friends of ours for all these years. And going back a few years, one of the twins, Seth, got married, and he called Diego and myself up to be in his wedding party. I couldn't believe it. Just the amount of years that had passed by, and we were still near and dear to his heart enough to be in his wedding. We met some great people while we were in the wedding, and we've kept track with them. And Derek and Seth each crew chief a truck at Tricon Garage in North Carolina, one of the most prestigious truck teams.
That's how they make their living.
That's how they make their living. They are crew chiefs for trucks. And we stay close to them on the phone. And they started, dotting their I's, crossing their T's. I was in touch with them. They hooked me up with Lee McCall to run that race last year. They gave me a referral for Chris Walker for this Florida trip that we're taking. And these other guys work at Tricon Garage, and they're great friends with Derek and Seth. And that's what helped. We knew from Derek and Seth that they wanted to put a team together, but it just wasn't happening quite yet. And me asking about it and pushing on it put the team together.
So they hired Brody. They never saw him race actually physically, right? But based on his records and his past performance?
Yeah, this is an expensive endeavor for us to go down there and be in these cars. It's almost like a rental program. But you can't get into a car of these caliper without having good driving skills. They don't just let anybody in these cars. And Derek and Seth have helped with high recommendations. And they watched Brody lead those 44, that 75 laps in his first time out in the car. They said, well, this kid's got what it takes. Like Billy Harmon would say, this kid got what it takes. We gotta.
Oh, Billy Harmon, he brags about you all the time. But Brody, what's your racing strategy? Is there a racing strategy when you go into any race, and is it the same for every race?
It's the same for every race when you're just talking about like driving style, but be everybody's friend until they don't want to be yours, pretty much.
That's important.
Yeah, and just don't make anybody upset. Get to the front. Don't be in a rush, depending on how many laps there are, how much time you have, and just if you don't have to, just don't be rude to anybody.
Don't be what?
Don't be rude. Like hitting people out of the way or flying up and over your head into a corner and hitting them, and just, you know, and it depends on, you know, how many laps, because you have a long race, you might have to take it easy, like going into the corner and save on your tires, you know, so you don't wear them too fast, and there's a lot to it depending on, you know, who you're racing with and how many laps you're doing it for, pretty much.
And physically, what do you do to prepare? Racing was revolutionized by Mark Martin, right? When he started working out.
Oh yeah, he was a workout machine.
And what do you do, Brody, to keep yourself in shape? And is that important from your perspective?
I do think maybe not as much as a like short distance local level. It might not be as important for doing like 25 lap races, but as of, what is it, maybe 2 months ago?
Right.
I started going to the gym, and I just started working out at home myself, so I'm gonna keep doing it until, or I don't know, probably forever.
When you're in these races, what gets tired or fatigued?
It's usually your arms when you're, I mean,
Your head, your neck, sometimes depending on
how the seat fits.
how the seat fits.
You know, and that's also very important, having a seat that fits perfectly, because, you know, because you want support on the right side of your head, because you're usually turning left, and you don't want your head to, you know, lean off to the right and get weak. So
He's got a blower too inside that's in the back of the area of the car, that a hose comes up to the top of his helmet to help cool air run through to help cool him off. But I mean, I'd tell you, after all these years of racing, as a little bit of a heavier guy, it's an overall fatigue, where just doing his normal workouts, building strength and conditioning, will help him out on these longer races. When people, it's been proven, when people are getting tired, you know, even that helmet cooler that I was talking about, people get tired, they start falling off the pace a little bit because they're just getting weak overall. So it's important. I think these workouts for him will definitely strengthen his long-term stamina. So.
And can you sense that in another driver, that he's getting tired? Is there any way to?
I couldn't say that I've done enough long races to do it, but maybe somebody just starting out. And I know when I started in the Legend cars, since they have no power steering, I know I was falling off the pace at the beginning of the race until I got enough strength to keep going through the whole race at 100%.
How many laps are you going to be running in New Smyrna?
Oh, New Smyrna. Do you know what the regular nights are?
Every race, 6 out of the 7 races is 35 laps, and I think the last race of the week for the pros is 100 laps.
So will you be in the last 100 lapper?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going to be kind of a test for you, am I correct?
Yeah, I did do that's the longest race that I've done, is 100 laps, because I think we did one where they had a touring series come to the SpeedBowl, and I did 100 laps in a late model. And
You were tired, huh?
I was tired, but you know, another thing, the seat was uncomfortable. So I don't want to be pulling excuses, but it is important, you know, because my back hurts, and you know, I guess I sound like I'm kind of complaining, right?
No, I mean, this is part of the game. It's what happens.
My back hurt, my neck hurt, and it's just, there's
And
a lot of factors.
That's not a thing you can correct at the last minute. The seat has got to be set up for you before the race.
Well,
it's not like putting a pole behind your back.
Right, and this car that we're going to run next year in North Carolina, on our way to New Smyrna, we're stopping in North Carolina. They put a bag in the seat to keep a pore off of Brody's physical body. Brody literally will sit on a bag, and they fill the bag with like an expanding foam, and it catches all the crevices of his body.
Mold.
Yeah, we're molding that seat on the 6th of February in North Carolina for that summer racing on our way down to Florida. So that's the difference. When you start running these long distance races in these cars, you really want to have a really comfortable seat.
Brody, how about the pit crew? How important is the pit crew, and how do you communicate with them?
The pit crew is really important, actually, you know, and especially, you know, like the crew chief, and you gotta have a good. You need to be able to communicate well with the crew chief because it's very important, you know. If the car's not doing what you want when you go out to the practice or whatever, and you can't communicate in the proper way to tell them what's going on with the car, then you could mess yourself up for a whole night of racing, you know. You could just go out there and kind of flounder with a car that isn't really great. But when you have good chemistry with the crew chief and you can say all the right things, and you know, you have enough experience together, and you can get a car right every race you do, and you'll be really fast. So I think that's important. And you know, the people that work on the cars, like even changing tires or making adjustments, then they need to know what they're doing too, you know. So the whole crew put together is very important.
And Shawn, did you tell me that Brody is he going to be back to the SpeedBowl next year? Or what's the long term?
We're running a minimum of 13 races in North Carolina next year, and he ran a full season with the truck division at
That's
Waterford.
all set up. That's all set up with this.
With this
new
other
venture
team,
you
Levitt
got.
Marlowe Racing. We're going to be, and my wife doesn't fly, so we got our trips cut out for us to do a lot of traveling back and forth to North Carolina for Brody to run these races. There'll be some weekends, and I don't know how tired we'll be, but there'll be some weekends that we have off from North Carolina. And we might make our way over to the SpeedBowl and run a few, you know, late model shows here or there. I want to let you know, when Brody won the championship with the Legend car 2 years ago, he was the youngest to ever win in a Legend car. When we moved him up to the truck division, he was a rookie. We didn't know what to expect. He actually set a new record, right? How many was that? 6?
6 consecutive wins.
In a row. He was the youngest to win in a truck. I had a late model in my garage, so we talked about earlier in the show what he likes driving, the late model versus the truck. Well, he really enjoyed driving the late model, but it wasn't even part of the plan to run late models. We were going to run a truck all last year. So he was put into a late model after the season had already started. We started late, just going out there and see what you can do, you know, have fun. He ended up winning 2 late model features. He's the youngest to ever win in a late model. And when he mentioned earlier, you know, you don't want to do rude things to people, you don't want to make bad moves, or he only had one. He had a parts failure where the guy didn't realize it was a parts failure. He was upset with him initially. But Brody was running for the lead and went into the corner and just took him out and took Brody out of the race. But overall, to not even have a plan to run a late model last year, to win 2 races, this has been huge. So we know our back-to-back championship streak will now be over because we're going to run all these different things, but it'll be nice to come back and just visit and no stress, no pressure, run a race here or there.
Yeah.
But nothing planned yet.
Well, we're just about out of time. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we close out?
I don't know.
Cat got your tongue?
Yeah.
I would say it's an honor to be on the show. Murray, we appreciate you, and I hope...
It's my honor.
Yeah, and I hope that when we decide to race, whatever race that may be, when we run Waterford next year, we'll get in touch with you, and hopefully you can come on out and
Oh, I'm going to be there.
hang out in
I'm
the
a
pit
big
area.
I'm a big Brody fan now.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Brody, I want to thank you for coming on the show and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And maybe sometime you can squeeze us in, and we'll do a follow up.
Oh, we're not.
You know,
yeah.
these shows go on YouTube now, so all your fans can tune in at a later date. It's hard to for them to watch it during the working day, but I want to thank special thanks to Reggie. Jesus,
What's Reggie doing?
Reggie
Hanging out
and
put-
Drew. Jeez.
Oh, Reggie and Drew.
I almost forgot Drew. Thanks for Reggie and Drew for all they do, because they go out of their way to make these things happen. You know, they give them no money here. This,
Thanks, Murray.
but best of luck, Brody.
Thank you.
We're going to be rooting for you. I know a lot of other people rooting for you, and wish you nothing but the best and success.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching today's show with Brody Monahan, next NASCAR guy. We're going to be watching him all the way, and thank you for watching, and good night.